The following program does not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or policies of the City of Oceanside, its elected officials, KOCT, its board of directors, or staff.
Enjoy Professional Hair Care offers over 30 pH balanced and stable products designed to meet the needs of every hair type and delivers beautiful, healthy hair from start to finish. And just remember to enjoy.
Welcome to the Voice of Oceanside. We have with us today Mr. Duane Coleman, Superintendent of Oceanside Schools. He's got some really exciting stuff to talk about. Duane, welcome for the first time to the Voice of Oceanside.
Thank you for having me.
This, I hope, will be first of several years of progress. And what I'd like to start with is your background. I think you have an interesting background, and I think it will sort of give people an idea that you bring a lot of skills and a lot of experience to this job.
Oh, my background. First of all, being the superintendent of Oceanside was probably not on my radar until probably the last couple of years when I kind of saw where this path could lead. But I was raised in Oceanside, been here since 1962. I went to Laurel Elementary, Jefferson, at the time it was Jefferson High School, and then Jefferson Junior High, excuse me, and then graduated Oceanside High School. And
did you ever, even one time, sitting in Oceanside High and say, I'm going to run this place someday?
No,
okay.
Never.
Okay.
Actually, education was not where I thought I would be. I thought I was going to invent something, be an entrepreneur, and work independently.
Yeah. Well, you sort of have entrepreneurially invented something, but we'll get to that.
Yes.
So after high school, where'd you go?
I got an athletic scholarship to play football at University of Hawaii, and probably 4 knee surgeries during that career. I actually was fortunate enough to 1 year with the Denver Broncos in 1983, and that's where I had my last, physical knee injury playing football. And was on the team for a year, never got on the field. It was the year that Denver went to the Super Bowl but did not win. And so they waived me that following year, the next year in July, and fell back on my degree. In my head, that's what I was thinking. I was going to, my degree is in teaching, so let's go see what teaching's all about. My mom taught for 37 years in Oceanside Unified at Laurel Elementary, so I knew teaching was in the background, and I started my career as, actually 2 years I worked in a commercial real estate development company. So that's where the business piece came in, and then decided to move on into education. And first job was at El Camino High School, taught there 8 years as a Wildcat, taught business economics and physical education. And then from there, I left the district, did not want to leave the district, but there were no administrative openings in the district at the time. So I left the district and did it was a practice interview in San Diego at San Diego High School, because I never wanted to leave Oceanside. I thought I'd get some experience with the interview, and they ended up offering me the job. And I actually had 10 wonderful years in San Diego and still have some really strong relationships there. Assistant principal there, went to become a high school principal at Murrieta Valley for 1 year. Went back to San Diego. It was a middle school principal at Oak Crest Middle School, and then got a call from someone in Oceanside and asked me if I would be interested in coming back to be the middle school principal of Jefferson, the school that I attended. And it was hard to turn that down. So that's how I got back in Oceanside. Did that 5 years, director of secondary 1 year, and then under Larry Perandi, my predecessor, was 7 years as his associate superintendent, and then this past year, July, was my first official date, July 1st, as the superintendent here in Oceanside.
Excellent, excellent. Team sports is always considered to be a great background for leaders. Now, you participated at the highest level of your sport,
right.
Not for a long time, but you made it, and very few people do. Were there a couple of leadership lessons you learned there that you implement now?
It's interesting you asked me that. I just met with a gentleman whose similar path as mine, had gotten to the NFL, and due to injuries is in the teaching profession. And the one thing I told him was that, not many people know the physical and mental demands when you get to that level. And really is when you get into college, there's a physical and mental demand to make sure you're at that premium athletic ability, and then also mentally, you need to know the plays. I mean, it's not, you see plays on the field, but people don't know that to that one play, there may be 20 different options that you have to know. And so what I told him was, I said, put that physical and mental ability and all that hard work that you did, and now put that into our kids. And I said, that may put you in top of that top echelon of teachers in terms of making sure we give our best to our kids, because not many people have gone through that type of physical and mental stress and been successful with that. So I said, put that into education. That's going to give our kids the best.
And I'm sure you also learned that great preparation leads to great performance.
Great preparation, the hope is that it leads to great performance. Yeah. That's always the hope.
Well, what you're here to really talk about is a program called Oceanside Promise.
Yes.
And to set that up, we have a video that you've done, and we're going to show that to our viewers so they get some background. Mm-hmm. Then we'll come back. It's about a minute and a half long. Mm-hmm. We'll come back and we'll flesh it out and get into that exciting program.
Great.
So take a look at this, and then we'll come back and have a lot more good information on it.
This is what I see 10 years from now in Oceanside Unified, called the Oceanside Promise. Imagine 10 years from now, a student graduates from Oceanside High School, El Camino High School, Ocean Shores High School. And when they graduate career ready, not job ready, career ready. A student graduates from Maricosta College, career ready, college ready. If they choose to go to a 4-year, they are ready, both career and college. But we want to give them that option. I want to bring our city together. And I want the district to lead that, but in a manner that's respectful. I don't expect this thing to be completely done in 10 years. But as long as I'm the superintendent, that's what we're going after. We're going after that for every kid. That's audacious. I love that. I want to be audacious because every single kid matters in our district. We have the best teachers. We have the best classified. We have the best parents. We have it all. Let's bring that all together and make this work for every single student.
Welcome back to the Voice of Oceanside. Hope you enjoyed that video. Duane, obviously you're passionate about this.
I am very passionate about this. When I talk to the teachers and other staff members, I always take them back to when they first got their contract as a teacher. And you hear in that video, I'm talking about every single student. And you do hear that when you talk to educators, they want every student to achieve. But when we all first got our first contract and we walked into our class with our first set of kids and we looked in their eyes, none of us started taking them and say 50% of you are going to make it, 50% of you are not going to make it, and of this 50% that are not going to make it, 2% of you are going to be in prison. We didn't look at our class that way. We looked at that class and we were going to make sure every one of our kids were going to be successful. So the Oceanside Promise is going to guarantee, and I know I'm using a strong word, because when this thing gets done, this is going to take this is about a 30 to 40 year endeavor. But what we'd like it to do is to guarantee that every student that leaves Oceanside Unified is going to be career ready and college ready, not job ready. We're going to give them the skills that they want to go right into a career. We're going to give them the skills to go into those careers. If they want to go to either a 2-year or a 4-year, and we have some really formal agreements with Maricosta College. We have a federal Gear Up grant that really focuses on college-going culture. And so we have a formal and also a really good relationship with Maricosta College. And so if kids decide to go to Maricosta, the Oceanside Promise is going to guarantee that they'll leave career ready and college ready. So if they choose to go to a 4-year college, and it's Cal State San Marcos, so there's the pipeline. They go to Cal State San Marcos because we do have a guaranteed student admissions program. It's a formal program with Cal State San Marcos. So any student that meets the minimal state UC criteria, they will always have a place at Cal State San Marcos, regardless of a wait list that could be 6,000 deep. Oceanside Unified kids are guaranteed a spot. But when they finish, because they're going to finish under the promise, we're going to guarantee that they're going to leave Cal State San Marcos career ready with a college degree. On top of that,
well, you know, I just have to ask, how'd you get the vision for this? This is not a small thing.
No, this is not a small thing, and there are bigger items to this. This is not a small thing.
We'll get to them. We'll get to them. But you're making promises. What prompted you to go this big?
You know, growing up in Oceanside, I see the wonderful things going on in our schools. I see the great teachers. I see the great support staff. I see that our parents want the best for our kids. And then there's things that happen in Oceanside, and some of those negatives could be gangs, could be, I mean, that stuff has happened in Oceanside. And somehow the school district gets brought into that. And sometimes that gives a negative perception of our city. And I've seen this as I've grown. You know, why is our medium average price homes about $350,000 when our next door neighbors, it's $650,000? We share the same sun. What is that difference? And so, you know, I'm in a position now where I have that influence, and I've never, even as a teacher, ever given up on a kid. And so there's always a champion for every single student. There's a champion for everybody out there. You just have to find out who those champions are, because if you find them for every person, there's going to be a high level of success for that person if that champion is there. And so the promise is something that the Oceanside Promise is, the goal is that every single student is successful. So I'm going to go back to Cal State San Marcos and Maricosta. The promise also wants to make sure that if there's a financial gap between scholarships and grants, the promise, the goal is to fill that gap. So our kids from Oceanside don't have that financial need, because sometimes in Oceanside and some of our families, that financial need that parents know when their kids are in elementary, there's going to be a financial need for college. And college is something that in their minds, they just don't have the financial needs, but they're not educated about the system. And so some of our kids who want to go to college may see some of their surroundings, what they're not hearing at home in terms of that support. College is a hope. I want college and career to be an expectation from our families.
So this involves the parents.
This involves the parents. So here's the bigger piece of the promise for me. We're going to improve our systems and structures between Oceanside Unified, Maricosta, and Cal State San Marcos. We've already started that work of the promise. So we're going to graduate more kids. Those percentages are going to increase. But the promise is really about, I'm going to give you a scenario, getting into an elementary family or prior to, and then getting into the home and finding out what are the needs of those parents and their guardians in the home, and the promise providing those services by working with community agencies, working with businesses, working with the city, that we are better coordinated in our services, that we can go into a home and offer those parents, offer those other family members, what is it that you need? Is it job training? Do you want more education? Do you need wraparound health care? What is it that you need? So the parents can have a conversation like this. If you're my child.
I'm listening.
Okay.
Although it's time for you to take a breath, because we have to take a break.
You can take a break.
And I know you're going to want to come back to hear the rest of this from Duane. So stay with us. We'll be back in a minute or two.
Built in 1931, Oceanside's Americanization School originally served to teach Spanish-speaking residents the language and cultural nuances of the United States. It was designed by the brilliant Irving Gill, who has left his architectural footprint on many Southern California buildings, such as the Walter L. Dodge House, the George W. Marston House, and the Old Scripps Building. After its restoration in 1992, the Americanization School became a community center, which offers social, medical, and recreational service to this day. Now known as the Crown Heights Resource Center, this building still stands just a mile off the coast amidst a plethora of other must-see sights.
Welcome back to the Voice of Oceanside. Duane, continue on with the promise.
So I'm going to pretend you're my child. Honey, you know I may not have the best immigration status. You know I've also struggled with jobs. But I do know that the Oceanside Promise is going to guarantee that you're going to be career ready and college ready when you leave Oceanside Unified. And if you want to go on to MiraCosta or Cal State, they're going to make sure financially that you're going to be able to attain that degree and be career ready. They're also going to help me, you know, they've been helping me with job training. They're helping me with some educational needs that I need. And, you know, those medical benefits that we were talking about that I struggle with, they're going to help me with some wraparound healthcare services. And so I want to be able to support you. And with the help of the Promise, I'm going to be able to support you as your journey through this system so that you're also successful.
Okay. I've been teaching for 20 years. I'm with you. The kids are going to do their part overwhelmingly because that's a message they'll respond to.
Right.
I even think, in spite of probably a lot of buzz to the opposite, that the parents are going to do their part, and I know you are. I want you to fill out the gap between you, because you're not going to be talking to every parent. You're not going to be doing all this stuff.
Right.
We've got teachers, we've got administrators, and now you're even widening the spread now. We're talking about a whole range of networking.
Right.
Flesh that out for us.
Okay.
How are you going to transmit that passion all the way down to the parent so in turn it can go to the kid?
Well, I would say me being on this show and talking about that's a small piece. But I have connected with, there's just a few left, all of our community agencies, executive directors or CEOs, and talked about the Promise and their part in the Promise. I've talked to several businesses.
Are you getting a good response?
There's a response I'm typically getting, and I will use Pro Kids Golf CEO Keith Padgett.
Okay.
When and they serve our kids down at the Oceanside Municipal Golf Course. There's a building there that serves our kids after school tutoring. When he heard the Promise, he leaned over and said, "I want in from the beginning." And so I've been getting very similar responses because this is a large endeavor. This is huge. But it takes an entire city, because what you're never going to hear me say is that this is an Oceanside Unified School District Promise program. This is an Oceanside Promise. This is the city of Oceanside. And we have a lot of really well-intended programs going after kids and families. This is coordinating those in terms of really focusing on families. And then if you build that family to that point, let's say you as my son, or you as my son, you came back and moved your family back here in Oceanside. The conversation you're going to have with your kids is going to be different than when you had it with me. And if we get all of our parents talking at that level and it becomes an expectation of career and college, property values will rise. Education levels of our community, not just of our students, education levels rise. Socioeconomic status rise. Oceanside will improve. And the goal of the Promise is not just to have a better school district system, because our school district is part of the city of Oceanside. This is really the entire city wrapping its arms around the families in order to make Oceanside a better place. Because I love this place, and for me, this is a great place. But when our property values are half that of our neighbors, we need to do something about that.
Okay, so you're reaching out. I get that, but teachers have a role, a big role. What's that going to be?
When I talk to teachers, what I'm trying to really do is I've been going to every site and talking to every single staff. I'm not having big assemblies of 5 schools at a time, because I want to get in an intimate situation where I can answer questions if need be. And so what I tell the teachers and administrators, because their first thing is, what do I have to do extra? And my answer to them is, we're already doing the work. We're doing the work now, our professional development, all the training we're providing now for our staff in the district is all there to support the Promise. So there's nothing that needs to be done differently currently with what the teachers and administrators are doing at the sites. Where the work needs to be done is outside of the school district. When you talk about community agencies, you talk about businesses, you talk about city officials, that's where we need to do the work in terms of coming together to make this Promise a reality for our families.
The energy that exists when you're facing your first class as a teacher is extraordinary, as you pointed out before the break. For this to work, that energy has to be maintained.
Yes.
That's part of your job too.
Yes.
How are you finding that in terms of difficulty and success level?
Well, energy-wise, it's funny. I probably give these kind of presentations to staffs probably 2 or 3 times a week. And every time it's a lot of passion for me, and it's genuine passion that I have for this city and our kids and families. And so when I'm giving these presentations, whether I'm talking to a CEO of a business or I'm talking to a family in Rancho Santa Fe, asking them that they want to be on the Oceanside Promise Foundation, the passion keeps that energy going for that time frame. And I do get tired after. But every time I talk about the Oceanside Promise and its kids and families and what it can do for this city, I have the energy. That energy level is never low when I talk about that. So I'm able to sustain it so far. I'm able to sustain it.
I asked the same question to one of the wealthiest men in the world. We did a show with John Walton, the late John Walton, when he was the head of Walmart. And he came out to open the new store in Oceanside. And I said, where do you get the energy? You know, because he ran several businesses beyond Walmart. And he said, I get back more than I give. And I guess that's what's happening to you.
You know, I'm giving back because I'm supposed to. You know, I just know, like I tell people now, I know what my purpose is in life, and my purpose is the Oceanside Promise because it's about Oceanside. And now that I know my purpose, it really does make it makes it easy for me to talk to different types of people I've never talked to before. I've never been to Rancho Santa Fe to sit in somebody's home, and how does a kid in Oceanside drive into Rancho Santa Fe and have the courage to sit there and talk to somebody about, I need resources to make this work. And because it's about Oceanside and its families, I don't have a problem doing that.
Okay, so money's an obvious one.
Yes.
Let's cover that before we get to what people can do other than money. So how does it get paid for?
Well, one of the things I did know is when you are saying that you're going to help sustain students as they go into college, the school district can't use its taxpayer money to do that. That's against the law. You need a foundation. And so one of the first things we did was we began to talk about forming an Oceanside Promise Foundation. But the district can't run that foundation. It has to be individuals that believe in the promise, that want to commit to that foundation in its inception and making that foundation run. So we have probably 15 to 18 individuals that we've contacted to be potential board members, and they've all heard about the promise. The majority of them are from Oceanside. They have a passion for Oceanside. They have access to resources to begin that process of getting, whether it's financial resources, whether it's resources we get from businesses, whatever those resources we need to help this promise grow. So the Oceanside Promise Foundation became official second week in January, somewhere around there. We just opened our bank account 2 weeks ago. The bank account has $100 in it right now. And I just really believe in my heart that when people really see the value of this in terms of the city, people are going to want to get behind this. I haven't been shocked, but I've been very pleasantly surprised at the amount of support that the people who want to be part of the foundation. In fact, we had so many spots, we had to form an advisory board underneath the board members for the foundation. So there's a lot of support for it.
What's the source of information for people who want to know more? Is it your phone number or a website?
It's in its inception. We just got the foundation form. What we're doing right now is getting all the information because we want to put together a package, whether it's brochures, whether it's a video, so that this package can go out to certain audiences, whether it's donors, potential donors, people who want to back this for other reasons. We want to be able to put out a package where we have some really good information of why they want to support the promise and gives a little bit more details in terms of specific data points that this is why we need your help in terms of the promise. So all that stuff is in the works right now. We don't have any handouts. We do have a lot of documentation, but we want to make sure when we first hand something out or show something publicly, that we have our ducks in a row as much as we can. We're having our first board meeting at the end of March. And so that's how new this is. And so, but I want to make sure I'm talking in district to make sure my teachers and my other staff know exactly what the promise, the framework of it is, because the worst thing that can happen is someone from outside comes and talks to our teacher and say, hey, what are you doing with the promise? And they haven't heard about it. Okay. And so I'm doing a lot of communication around it right now.
You know, we're a nation that wants immediate gratification, which may be emotional and illogical, but then there's the logical side. If you're going to make a major investment, it's great to talk about 30 and 50 years, but we want to see a metric, some milestones along the way. Right. What do you think the first thing we should look for in terms of outcome? Is it going to be a graduation rate? Is it going to a test score? What do you think it's going to be?
I think one of the main things, and I'm going to talk about in district what we need to be doing, is early literacy is my priority. Okay. So our pre-K through 3rd grade, we have to make sure that our kids are coming out reading at grade level. I asked my folks, and I said 1st grade. I want them all reading at grade level 1st grade. Because typically you hear 2nd grade or 3rd grade, and I wanted 1st grade. And so what they did, they came back with strategies, you know, Dr. Coleman, I think we can do this at kinder. In a couple years, we may be able to get the majority of our kids reading at grade level at kinder. And so one of the first indicators is going to see that our students at grade level reading out of kinder and 1st grade, you're going to see the increases there. The other indicator you're starting to see, and this has been a work in progress. So the promise has been in my head for about 3 years. Okay. You know, and my predecessor and I have talked about this. And so whether he was here or not, the promise was going to be coming out. And I know he was going to allow me to lead that. So we've been working on certain things. And one of them is filling out that federal aid application form, the FAFSA. And so we've been working on a process where now El Camino High School has like a 78% completion rate. The state average is 60%. We did a pilot with them, and 3 years ago, they were the top school in the county in terms of FAFSA completion rates.
Okay, we've got a minute left.
Yes.
What can people do who don't have the ability to fund this? How can the community join in this?
Well, the community can join in by supporting this. And that support could look in terms of just supporting students. If there's businesses or other entities that support the promise, supporting them, and just becoming more aware of the promise. The promise needs to be something that is embedded in our culture, and that's going to take time. And I've told people, I may not live to see 100%, but this effort needs to start now. If we want to do what's best for Oceanside, it needs to start now.
Okay, so you see it as like an integrated network, a fabric in Oceanside.
It has to be.
Okay, and if people don't know what to do, we need to start talking about it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Well, you know, you've energized me. I'm sure you've energized our viewers. We will want to hear more about this, so I trust you'll come back with an update.
I will be happy to.
And we'll look forward to a website with the foundation. The official name of the foundation will be?
Oceanside Promise Foundation.
Oceanside Promise Foundation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
And thank you for watching this edition of The Voice of Oceanside. You've heard 30 minutes that you're not going to hear anywhere else about the Oceanside Promise. And if there's somebody else who you think should see this, remember that this Voice of Oceanside and all the others are available on demand at KOCT.org. Thanks for watching.
Enjoy Professional Hair Care offers over 30 pH balanced and stable products designed to meet the needs of every hair type and delivers beautiful, healthy hair from start to finish. And just remember to enjoy.